So let me set up this next segment for you. I already told you Chris Wallace was likely on stage with a contagious Trump during Tuesday's debate. Based on the timeline, we understand that in all likelihood, Donald Trump contracted coronavirus either sometime between Saturday and Monday of the previous week and was likely contagious during the debate. As I already told you, Donald Trump was not tested at the debate, as everybody was supposed to be. They showed up late and were allowed to use the honor system to tell them Trump doesn't have coronavirus. I already told you last week during a stream that Donald Trump's family immediately took off their masks at the debate, the only people in the debate hall to do so, even though the rules were keep the masks on. So this weekend, CNN, Fox News, Sunday, all of these different Sunday shows, they tried to get Trump administration people on to talk about what's going on. No one agreed to do it, except one senior advisor to Trump named Steve Cortes, who went on Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace. And it devolved into base, utter lunacy that we really should be studying and teaching our children so they don't grow up to be like Steve Cortes. Let's start with Chris Wallace asking, why doesn't the Trump family think the rules apply to them with the masks? And Cortes is immediately being deceptive.
Not apply to them.
No, that's not the reality. Look, everybody was tested before that event, as you well know. Those of us who went first were tested by Cleveland Clinic directly. Everybody who gets on Air Force One for any trip on Air Force One is tested before they get on.
Steve, it doesn't matter. Steve, it doesn't matter. Everybody that was in that room was tested. Steve, everybody that was in that room was tested. And the Cleveland Clinic's regulation was it didn't matter. Everybody except for the three of us on the stage, was to wear a mask. And people from the Cleveland Clinic came over and offered the first family masks, thinking maybe they didn't have them. They were waved away. And the Commission on Presidential Debates has issued a statement saying, from now on, if you don't wear a mask, you're going to be escorted from the hall.
So Chris Wallace is rightly upset there because he and Biden may have been exposed at the debate. But when Cortes says, listen, everybody on Air Force One is tested. Remember, Trump showed up too late to be tested, and they took Trump's word that he was negative. And now we know Trump may well have been positive at the time and was almost certainly contagious, according to multiple doctors. Even on the basic facts, this Trump advisor, I don't know about can't, but won't be honest. Let's continue.
So forget this question of being tested beforehand. Everybody was tested beforehand. No, I'm going to finish my question. Everybody was told to wear a mask. Why did the first family and the chief of staff feel that the rules for everybody else didn't apply to them?
Chris, we believe that masks are very useful. The president has worn them on many occasions, including visiting the hospital where he's now a patient. When he was visiting as commander-in-chief as a guest to visit soldiers there, he wore a mask. So we believe in masks. We also believe in some element of individual choice. People were distanced and they had been tested.
This is all, me. We believe in choice. We believe in masks. Those aren't the questions. The question is the debate hall had rules. Why did the Trump family just ignore them? Now, there is shared blame here. The first family should have been kicked out, and it was the debate organizers and the venue that didn't do it. And I understand that that's a difficult thing to do, would have had major PR repercussions despite being the right thing to do. Now, the debate commission has been forced to say, if there are future debates, at this point, we don't know, Trump has coronavirus, if you don't wear a mask, you are going to be kicked out. But the guy simply can't answer a simple question. Now, notice what happens next. When Steve Cortes can't get away from the question, why did they break the rules? He switches to attacking Chris Wallace.
Both of those things were true in that convention hall.
No, Steve, they weren't distanced, and there were rules, and there was no freedom of choice. They broke the rules.
I was there. I was there like you were, and they were distanced.
Why did they break the rules? Those chairs
were not close together. Look, those chairs were not close together. And again, we also believe that people
It doesn't matter, Steve. The rules from the Cleveland Clinic, they were close together, Steve. And the rules from the Cleveland Clinic were everybody wears a mask. Why didn't they?
Chris, the way you're starting to harangue me now actually reminds me of what you did to the president during that debate on Tuesday night. When
I harangued him.
No.
Did you see what he did there? He goes after Chris Wallace. He says, listen, Chris, you're haranguing me just like you did to Trump, you unfair moderator. From Fox News, of course. When you lose on the facts, you go ad hominem. This is a very typical thing that happens in debates when people lose on the facts. And it continues. And Chris Wallace just starts reaming out Steve Cortes.
And then he had to debate not just Joe Biden, but you as well. You were not a neutral moderator then. I don't mind tough questions. I welcome reasonably tough questions. But what I don't think is okay is for you to become the effective opposition to the president. OK, and everyone there was tested in the crowd. They were distanced from each other. People can make reasonable decisions for themselves.
No, they can't. They're the rules, and they'll be kicked out next time. Steve, let me just simply say the president interrupted me and the vice president 145 times. So I object to saying I harangued the president. I know it's the talking point.
So the problem is that while what Wallace says is true, Trump did interrupt more than 100 times. This is actually about the rules of the debate hall. It's not what Don Jr.'s assessment of the distance between chairs is. That doesn't matter. And unfortunately, Trumpists will fall for this. When you ask Trumpists, I haven't seen it done yet, but based on the vigil they held with no masks outside Walter Reed over the weekend, if you went to Trumpists and you said, what about this? Why did the Trump family pull that's wrong. They took their masks off. They would say there was lots of space and we believe in masks when people are crowded together, but they weren't crowded together. The people who claim to be all about law and order are going to say, well, the rules, we decide if we want to follow the rules or if the rules make sense or whatever. Doesn't really sound like law and order to me. I assure you, they see this and they end up mad at Chris Wallace, not at dishonest Steve Cortes, the lying Trump advisor, not at the Trump family for not wearing masks, not at Trump for making fun of Joe Biden's mask while likely contagious with coronavirus himself while on the stage. Now, the practical question is whether there will be more debates. This week, Wednesday night, is the Kamala Harris versus Mike Pence VP debate. Every indication is that's going to happen, although they've agreed to more space between Harris and Pence on the stage. I would love to see Kamala Harris bring her own plexiglass. Mike Pence was at the Amy Coney Barrett super spreader event, sitting next to people who got the virus. I would be careful if I was Kamala Harris. Then we get to debates number 2 and 3 for Trump and Biden. Now, the first one is scheduled for 10 days from today. Trump has coronavirus as of today. That's what we know. What they claim tomorrow, I don't know. But at least as of today, Trump has coronavirus. Trump's going to travel in 10 days or even 9 days, if he's supposed to go the day before, to a debate on an airplane and again be on stage with Joe Biden and the moderator just 10 days after being in the hospital for coronavirus. I don't see it. So I don't know if the idea is maybe they will go remote. I don't know what the thought is at this point. There may be no more debates. They may be video conference debates. Maybe the second one gets canceled and they skip to the third, which is an additional week down the line, 17 days from today. It's anyone's guess at this point in time. We'll follow it and let you know as we learn more about it.